Why do liberals always go silent?
We have a diverse society, and its strength is from its diversity. He's a racist bigot.
Okay.
He doesn't like brown people.
How do you know that?
You don't look at the news, do you?
What news do you watch?
I read several newspapers. I listen to NPR, BBC. I have...
What's your proof that he's targeting people that are brown and don't speak English?
Haven't you looked at the news at all?
You keep saying that, but apparently you watch the news. I would like you to tell me what your proof is, because you watch the news.
I'm sorry, you just don't understand, do you?
I'm asking you to help me understand. You watch the news.
I don't think you're capable.
Well, give me a shot. Give me a shot. Let's see if I'm capable. I would just like you to share with me proof for your claims that he's targeting people that are brown and don't speak English. Give me proof that that's the criteria he's working off of.
How dare President Trump arrest the dictator of Venezuela? Even though we protested against dictators on No King's Day, and Venezuelans are happy that he got arrested, but it just doesn't count, okay? Trump just can't do that. It makes him look good, and we hate Trump. Now where am I going to get all my fentanyl, ecstasy, and heroin at Burning Man? Even though Trump is the commander-in-chief, he didn't ask permission from Congress, okay? He's not allowed to use our military to make our world peaceful. We need to go to Hobby Lobby, get some signs, and protest for Venezuela to get another dictator in. Otherwise, they'll never be free. They're gonna end up in chains just like me and all the other white liberals in their 40s who have to sit on their couch all day and watch Trump and willingly complain about him making our world better. Scum!
Sadly, it's the truth. They're beyond stuck on stupid. And with every day that goes by of the Trump administration, we see more and more of the absolute hypocrisy and idiocy of the left and the liberal Democrats and those buffoons up in Washington, D.C. that are the leaders of the Democrat Party. And we're going to talk about that and many other things tonight. But first, you have many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. Whether you're watching us tonight on the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, the X channel, please like, subscribe, share it with your family and friends. Tell them about the Douglas Ducote Show. That's how we continue to spread the news. Before we get into everything that's going on, we do have some sad news to report. And this actually happened on Sunday. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but Michael Reagan, the elder son of former President Ronald Reagan, has died at the age of 80. He died on Sunday. The announcement was shared by Young America's Foundation, which said the organization released a statement on behalf of the Reagan family. It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of Michael Edward Reagan, his family said in a statement. Michael was and will always remain a beloved husband, father, and grandpa. Michael was called home to be with the Lord on Sunday, January 4th, surrounded by his entire family in Los Angeles, California. Our hearts are deeply broken as we grieve the loss of a man who meant so much to all of us who knew and loved him. Reagan was a conservative author, national syndicated radio talk show host, and frequent public speaker who spent decades actively defending and promoting his father's legacy through close involvement with the Reagan Library and Foundation. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Institute said it mourns the passing of Reagan, described him as a steadfast guardian of his father's legacy. Michael Reagan lived a life shaped by conviction, purpose, and abiding devotion to President Reagan's ideas, the foundation said in a statement. The foundation also cited President Reagan's own words about his son from An American Life, quoting the former president as writing, "When I read his book, and I even more of a fatherly pride in Mike than I have had before. He was happy and at peace with himself. Michael Reagan's death marks a profound loss," the foundation said, adding that his president's warmth and unwavering commitment with the deeply missed by the Reagan Library and far beyond its walls. Organizations extends condolences to the Reagan family, including his wife, Colleen, and their children, Cameron and Ashley. And Godspeed, you're with your daddy now. And sadly, one more patriot that is no longer with us. Okay, so I started off tonight's show showing you how these liberals and liberal Democrats are so anti-everything Donald Trump. And here's the crazy thing about it. You see, the average Democrat out there, I'm not talking about the ones up in Congress. I'm definitely not talking about the liberal Democrats of our society. The average Democrat like me and you is working for a living, trying to put food on the table, raise their family, they work a job, they're not into politics. The things that are taking place by the Trump administration, they align with and they agree with. And furthermore, the leadership of the Democrat Party up in Washington, D.C., the Democrats in the House and the Senate, they also agree with all of Trump's policies. Now, when they go in front of a camera, they tell you just the opposite, how horrible it is, and everything Trump's doing is wrong. They're anti-Trump everything. Everything. But if you just put a D in front of Trump's name, if he was a Democrat president, they'd be worshiping the guy. It's because everything he's done, they have fought for in the past when a Democrat was in office. Trump comes along because Trump used to be a Democrat, just like I was. And he switches to Republican. And that's the other reason they turn against him. So, any American, regardless of your political party, that has a functioning brain is for secure borders. They just are. Keep the bad people out. Let the good people in. We're for immigration. Conservatives, Republicans are for immigration. We want people to come from other countries here that want a better life. We're all immigrants. Every one of us are. If you're listening to me tonight, your background's an immigrant, unless you're an Indian and then Europeans came over here and stole your land and took your shit. Now you have casinos. But the point I'm getting at here is that everybody, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, conservative, liberal, doesn't matter, you're for immigration. Trump's not anti-immigration. He's not anti-black people and brown people. He's against the same thing that Democrats and liberals are against. Bad people coming here illegally and doing bad things to hurt Americans. So we're all for secure borders. Come here the legal way, and we welcome you with open arms. will help you become an American citizen. Everybody's for supporting law enforcement, except for the liberal left. They hate law enforcement. To them, law enforcement's nothing but a bunch of racist bigots that wake up every day and they want to go see how many black youth they can kill and gun down that are innocent. All absolute 100% bullshit lies. But the average Democrat out there, and even the ones in Washington, D.C. and Congress, are for a strong law enforcement support. Supporting our military, same way. Cleaning up our streets, getting rid of the crime in our streets. Even activating the National Guard into cities that need help. That's been done under Democrat presidents, and the Democrats loved it up in Washington, D.C. Trump does it, and oh my God. Stop the flow of drugs coming across our border into America. Democrats are all for that. When a Democrat president's in charge, Trump comes in charge, and oh my God, look what he's doing to these poor brown and black people. Stop the gang members from coming to America. Same thing. Stop the sex trafficking from coming into America. Democrats are all for that. When a Democrat's in office, make our military stronger. As long as the Democrats in office, they're okay with that. Trump comes in and starts doing all kinds of these great things to build up our military, and oh my God, he's turning us into a world, taking over the world type shit. Lower gas prices, food prices, everyday household goods cheaper. Democrats are all for that. If a Democrat's in office, Trump comes in and does this and makes it happen like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris couldn't do in 4 years. And oh my God, look how horrible he is. Same thing with the tariffs. I don't have a problem with tariffs. Go back and look at all the YouTube videos you can see of, or anywhere on social media, of former Democrat presidents, whether it's Obama, whether it's Biden himself, talking about tariffs and how it's not fair that we're having to pay all this extra money and these countries don't have to pay it on our goods. Trump does it, and oh my God, how horrible is this? A strong economy. Why can't they admit that the economy is strong now? Because Trump is doing it. Better wages for employees. They want you to believe that employees aren't making anything. They're getting paid pennies on the dollar. Lower pharmacy drug prices. My God, what he's done with this Trump RX thing is unbelievable. It's never been done before in the history of America. For the first time ever in American history, a president has found a way to get these drug companies on board to lower the prices for us. The Democrats up in Washington, D.C. will not give him credit because he's Trump. They want to tell you just the opposite is happening. Same thing with unemployment. Stop world military conflicts. He's done it. He's the first president in our history, in American history, to come into office in the first year, stop 9 separate military conflicts. And then he goes in and takes out a dictator who they don't want dictators. Oh, no King's Day protests. Remember all that shit? Well, the president of Venezuela was not a real president. He wasn't duly elected to be president. That makes him a dictator. Before he became that, he was the head of a drug cartel. Indictments get put out to have this son of a bitch arrested and brought to America and stand charges for killing hundreds of thousands of American citizens with the drugs flowing out of that country that the Democrats supported. As long as a Democrat's president, Trump comes along and does it, and oh my God, how horrible is this? It's stuck on stupid. Every one of these policies, your average Democrat voter out there is 100% for. And Trump's making it happen. But their leadership in Washington, D.C. tells them just the opposite is happening. And sadly, the leadership in Washington, D.C. has forgotten this thing called the internet and video. They have forgotten that as a member of Congress or as a president of the United States, when you say something in front of a camera, that shit lasts forever for those of us like me to come back and pull up to show you what they said and prove the point that they were all for this or that until Trump came along. Then they want you to believe that it's bad and they were never for it to start with. For instance, here, let's just take a moment and watch the Democrats in their own words.
All these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
So what can the Congress do about it is the next question.
Well, the next question is very simple. And that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privilege resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
In your
President Trump.
Are you kidding me? What's going on, Schumer? In 2020 and all the way up until 2024 when Trump was 2025 when Trump was elected, you were all for getting rid of this dictator. And you were pissed off back in 2020 that Trump didn't go in and take that fucker out. Now he does it, and oh my God, it's a big fucking deal. Let's go on.
We disagree with the president's decision to cut back on our previous commitment to protect against drugs coming across the border, to cut the Customs Service, the Coast Guard, and the Border Patrol. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it.
Maduro, who I've met, is a dictator, plain and simple. The Venezuelan people need our support to recover their democracy and rebuild their country. I'll use sanctions as one of the tools for a comprehensive strategy that includes humanitarian assistance, international pressure, and support for democratic actors in Venezuela to force the regime to embark on the road to a free and fair election. We should be leading the international effort to confront the massive humanitarian crisis in Venezuela.
The Biden administration made a deal with Maduro. No one talks about this. He made a deal with Maduro. Here was the deal. Maduro asked that his nephews, convicted drug traffickers, be released from U.S. prisons. He asked that his chief money launderer, his money man, his bag man, be released from U.S. custody before he stood trial. In exchange, he promised to hold free and fair elections. He got the nephews back, the drug dealers. He got the bag man back, and he never did the free and fair elections.
They stole the elections.
They stole the elections. Yeah. They suckered Joe Biden. They're not going to sucker Donald Trump.
President Trump just announced on social media that Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, has been captured and flown out of the country.
And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when he tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it.
That's a fact, not a joke.
And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not, generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well.
We should be leading the international effort to confront the massive humanitarian crisis in Venezuela.
Quickly turn to Venezuela, where Maduro once again demonstrated his complete disregard for democratic norms and proceeded with his illegitimate inauguration. As President Biden emphasized during his meeting with President-elect Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, on Monday, January 6th, we believe that it is essential that the will of the Venezuelan people is respected. In coordination with our partners, we've given Maduro and his representatives every opportunity to restore democracy, but they haven't. So today we are building on all of our previous actions and taking further major actions. We announced new sanctions on key Maduro-aligned officials as a part of our efforts to hold them accountable, and we imposed more visa restrictions totaling nearly 2,000 individuals. We also increased the reward amount to $25 million for Nicolas Maduro and his so-called Minister of Interior as part of the Department of State's Narcotics Rewards program.
Brags about all the.
So, let me get this straight. When Biden was in office, and even before Biden was in office, let's go back years ago, as you saw in the first clip with Joe Biden when he was a member of Congress. They were all for cleaning up Venezuela and taking that dictator out of power. You heard the administration, Biden administration, admitting he's a dictator. He's not a legitimate president. And yet we have these liberal Democrats all over social media, especially on YouTube, saying that we went in and kidnapped the president of Venezuela. It's not true. You can't have it both ways. I get it. You don't like Donald Trump. That's fine. But you just heard me play for you the Democrats wanting to do what Donald Trump did and telling you he wasn't a real president. He was a dictator. He was doing horrible things. Joe Biden wanted an international force to go in and take out that son of a bitch. Trump does it, and oh my God, how dare you? Which way do you want it, Democrats? Liberal Democrats, not Democrats. The average Democrat out there, like I'm saying, they're all fucking for this. They love it. You want proof they love it? Here's your proof. Here's liberal CNN explaining to you how much the American people love what Donald Trump did.
Military ousting Maduro. Pre-ousting, what you saw was the clear plurality of Americans opposed at 47%, just 21% support. Come over to this side of the screen. After the ousting, look at that. The support through the roof. Now we're talking about 37%. well within the margin of error right here of the opposition, 38%. It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up.
Yeah, before underwater, now basically even. What about the idea of putting Maduro on trial here in the United States?
Yeah, you know, part of the reason why I think that the success number is way up, and you saw it here, what was it? It was 26 points in favor of opposition, and now within the margin of error, is because they simply don't like Nicolas Maduro. And in fact, they believe that he should be on trial for drug trafficking. Look at this. 50% of Americans favor compared to just 14% who oppose. So there are very few Americans here who oppose it. Even among Democrats, the opposition number is below, get this, just 24%, is below 25%. So this is something that unites Republicans. It divides Democrats. And at this particular point, support for the operation way up. And in terms of those who favor the drug trafficking trial for Maduro, that is a clear plurality.
Yeah, it doesn't really even divide Democrats on the idea of a trial. They all seem to support it by and large. Only 24% oppose it for Democrats. Let's talk about sort of what the...
So, again, the average Democrat out there that's a voter, that's not into politics, it's just out there working for a living, trying to raise their kids and put food on the table just like me and you. They're 100% for everything Donald Trump's done for the past 12 months. It's their leadership up in Washington, D.C. that are batshit fucking crazy on Trump derangement syndrome. And we've got the videos. I could sit here and do this all damn night. I could play you loop after loop after loop of Democrat members of Congress and Democrat presidents 100% behind every single thing Donald Trump has done in the past 12 months. Just continue to roll it. You can look it up yourself. But Trump comes in and runs as a Republican and changes parties from the Democrats to Republicans, and he's an evil fucking bastard. That's called hypocrisy 101. You need more proof, liberal Democrats? Folks, you know who Ann Navarro is? She's one of the hosts on The View. You know, the women of The View, the far left, liberal, anti-Trump, horrible, horrible, disgusting women that think Donald Trump is Satan. And Anna Navarro is probably, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to tell you that of all the women on planet Earth, no one hates Donald J. Trump more than Anna Navarro does. She can't stand him. No matter what he does, she tries to convince the audience that Donald Trump is wrong. If there was video of Donald Trump walking on water like Jesus Christ did supposedly in the Bible, she would say, well, it just proves that Donald Trump can't swim. If Donald Trump himself went to a fucking Hobby Lobby and bought one of those little, you know, in Hobby Lobby in the toy section of Hobby Lobby, you can get the little science kits for your kids and stuff like that. If he went and bought one of those, brought it into the White House, and sat there for a bunch of little freaking and he boom, invented a cure for cancer. Anna Navarro would come out and say, well, he didn't cure AIDS. So therefore, you know, fuck him. That's how much she hates everything Donald Trump does. I've never heard her say anything, no matter what it is, positive about Donald J. Trump. Until now.
for this? Who said, hey, yeah, go on in there and do this? Because originally, wasn't it, he was concerned about the drugs coming in and out, and yet he pardoned like a giant
kingpin.
Kingpin. And so what is this all about?
Your question, who voted for this? The people in South Florida. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years. When we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability, it brought me to tears. It brought me great joy.
Come on, liberal Democrats. Throw it at me. What do you got to say now? What can you possibly say now on your YouTube channels and your Rumble channels? Other than the fact that you're a bunch of lying little bitches that can't tell the truth if a fucking gun was pointed to your head. The most hateful woman on earth against Donald J. Trump just admitted that it's a great thing what he did. And that, it wasn't a legitimate president. We know that. That's factual. And yet, all these YouTube channels out there have way more followers than I do. Some of them have over 1 million, are convincing their audience that we went in and kidnapped a president of another country. How dare us? Venezuela wasn't attacking America. How dare us? Well, they leave out the part that, no, he wasn't a legitimate president. He wasn't reelected. Somebody else was. You just heard, I showed you, Chuck Schumer saying back in 2020, if Donald Trump really had a Venezuelan policy back in 2020 when he was president, he'd have removed that dictator and put the actual guy that won, who was there at the house on visiting, in power. But he refused to step down and basically told the guy, either you leave the country or we're going to kill you and your family. That's what a dictator does. And these idiots are out there trying to convince people that we went in and took out a legitimate person who, oh, by the way, was attacking America. How? With massive and massive amounts, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of pounds of fentanyl and heroin and other drugs like cocaine, bringing them into America to kill Americans. That's a fucking all-out attack on America, my friends. Instead of doing it with a military force, he did it with drugs. And what was he doing for a living before he became their president? He was the leader of a fucking drug cartel. So, and it drives me nuts because, I try and get along with everybody out there. Liberal, Democrat, Republicans, I don't care. I try and reason with everybody. And I get my liberal friends sending me messages going, oh, look, this is what's really going on. I'm going, where the fuck did you get this from? It's not. No, really? And I try and explain it, and it's just too much for their brain. It overloads them. And they can't comprehend factual information. Instead, they want to believe the crap that they're being fed by the far left liberal minions of our society. How much more proof do you need that I don't care what the policy is? I don't care what the executive order was. Every single thing that Donald J. Trump has done since he took the oath of office, every single Democrat, to include those up in Washington, D.C., would be 100% behind it. Anybody with a fucking brain and common sense would be 100% behind it if Donald Trump hadn't switched parties and was a Democrat president. Every one of those bastards up in D.C. in the House and Senate would be 100% for everything Donald Trump has done. And that is a fact. And there are thousands of videos out there for you liberal idiots to look at and see of Democrats going for the exact same policies that Trump's put in place before Trump. But now that Trump did it, it's evil and it's horrible. I rest my case. Acting U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Director Todd Lyons said today the agency is carrying out the largest immigration operation ever in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that has already nabbed murderers, sexual predators, people that were involved in rape, child molestation, robberies, killings, stabbings. Lyons said that Department of Homeland Security, under the leadership of Secretary Christine Noem, has surged Minneapolis to target fraud, arrest predators, and remove criminal illegal aliens, to include the ones that stole millions of dollars of COVID relief funds and pretended to have child care centers to get money for them in the tune of millions of dollars and didn't have a single child going to them. And yet the liberal left comes in and bashes and is against what law enforcement is doing there. Comes aim the massive welfare fraud scandal that continues to unfold in the state. We have the largest immigration operation ever taking place right now. It is a great effort by ICE. Lyons said enforcement and removal operations and Homeland Security investigations are conducting the investigations. They're on the ground. They're going door to door, and a lot of these suspected companies, they're not only hiring illegal aliens that shouldn't have even been in the country in the first place, but are also involved with potential human smuggling, human trafficking, sex trafficking of women and children, but also look at these fraud cases as well, he said. Lyons praised Noem and her leadership, which led to the capture of dangerous criminals so far, and that it's been an awesome operation. Got a suspect wanted for murder. We got a rapist. We got people that were hiding in plain sight that committed these horrible crimes. They're up there in a fight to these sanctuary jurisdictions that allowed these criminals, illegal aliens, to roam the streets and take advantage of the public assistance that should be there for every taxpaying American, not them. DHS also posted a video showing armed federal agents arresting Thomas Epin Tapia, T-A-P-I-A, an Ecuadorian illegal alien who is wanted for murder and sexual assault and robbery. To the criminals living among us, you are not our neighbors. Leave now or we will fine you, Department of Homeland Security wrote on their Twitter account, X account. Lyons said the state's sanctuary policies are a draw for illegal immigrants. Sanctuary protections do attract other illegal aliens to come there and take advantage of welfare, public assistance, SNAP benefits. And that's just a magnet that brings that criminal element that can hide in plain sight. And that's what we're finding out is happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it's not just there. It's in places like Chicago, New York, California. It's just freaking rampant. It's all over the place. that this has happened, and it's horrible. And they're doing something about it. And in fact, there's so much that's being exposed now that was happening in Minnesota that Tim Walz, the governor, who, remember just a year ago was running to be vice president for President Kamala Harris and their failed fucking attempt, he decided that he has to not run for governor. His days are over with. He's done. Stick a fork in it. Tampon Tim, you horrible, disgusting human being, you stolen valor, despicable human being who lied about your military record. Now, when they connect you to the Somali fraud, you're going to go down along with Alihan Omar and the rest of those, which is why he's not running for governor and has decided not to continue his bid to be governor. He knows what's coming. Okay. Seattle, Washington has a new mayor. There she is, folks. Isn't she a darling? She's facing growing scrutiny over her approach to public safety after an internal police email outlined how most drug possessions and public use cases are being directed towards diversion rather than prosecution, prompting backlash from critics who say the approach sends the wrong message to open drug use remains visible across the city. The controversy erupted after Seattle Police Chief Sean Barons, who, by the way, is appointed by the mayor, circulated an internal message detailing how low-level drug cases will be handled in 2026, fueling concern among critics that the city is effectively softening enforcement just weeks into Mayor Kate Wilson's administration. City officials insist that there has been no policy change, but it's been argued now that the proof is there. Parallel practical impact tells a different story. An internal email obtained that's been released to the media, Barnes wrote that all charges related to drug possessions and or drug use will be diverted from prosecution to the Law Enforcement Assistance Diversion Program, citing guidance from the city attorney's office. The directive applies to user quality cases, while drug dealers and those eligible for the lead remain subject to prosecution. Barnes emphasized that officers are still expected to arrest individuals where probable cause exists, particularly when drug use occurs in public view. Seattle police pushed back on claims that enforcement is changing, telling news agencies that officers will continue to make drug-related arrests and that Seattle Police Department policies remain unchanged. The department said that prosecutions, not police, determine whether cases move forward, adding that officers can coordinate with prosecutors to provide or pursue a traditional prosecution in cases where diversion is deemed inefficient. Seattle Police Department also pointed to staffing gains and declined crime rates, noting the department added 165 officers in 2025 and saw reductions in both violent and property crime. Mayor Wilson rejected claims that her administration has shifted drug enforcement policies. There have been no policy changes, Wilson said in a statement. You'll know when I announce a policy change because I'll announce a policy change. Wilson said she remains committed to enforcing the city's public use and possession ordinance in priority situations while expanding diversion programs in neighborhood hotspots and stressing urgencies, resources, and measurable results. Despite those assurances, it's already been proven that law enforcement has been told if you see somebody, unless it's in public view of children and other people, that happens to be doing drugs, you cannot arrest them and take them to jail. They have to be prosecuted into this diversion program. Now, they're going to play all the words they want with it. the Seattle police chief and the new mayor who's putting this into play and trying, now that they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, trying to protect these druggies. And look, personally, I don't give a shit what you do. If you want to fucking shoot up heroin and fucking kill yourself, have at it. All right? The problem is it's affecting other people's lives. And when children get a hold of the needles and die, or get a hold of the drugs and die, or those that are pushing the drugs on the street for kids, those people need to be held accountable. And when you get some liberal woman like this in charge who wants to go light on crime, then you're going to end up with a huge problem. So this LEAD program that she has, and wanting to put these offenders into a diversion program, now that it's been brought to light, they're backtracking on this. Now, where it's going to go tomorrow or into the coming weeks and months, I don't know. But up until it was exposed, they were about to go light on anybody involved in drugs. And that may be changing really, really soon, thanks to people that brought it to the attention of those that are now letting it out there as news. And the last thing I'm going to save, that I saved for last, and I could do hours on this, I'm not going to bore you with it. Today's January 6th. You all remember what happened on January 6th, right? And those of you that have been following me for a long, long time know that I've told you all along that it was a setup. It's what you were being told was a lie. It isn't true. And of course, we found out over time now that it was all a fucking sham to stop Donald Trump and to arrest MAGA people that didn't do a crime other than just being present. Most of those people that were arrested that Trump pardoned didn't hurt anybody. So with all the evidence now that's come out, with everything we know that the FBI did, taking people, FBI agents, and dressing them up with MAGA hats, going out there inciting violence and inciting these people to storm the Capitol, it was all a fucking plan to do this, to try and take the MAGA movement down and Trump down. And it all backfired. And now the facts are finally all coming out for everybody to see. Of course, the liberal left is never going to see it. The Democrats up in Washington, D.C. are never going to admit it. But Donald Trump had something special planned. Pay close attention, liberals. The White House has now published a new website today detailing the timeline of the January 6, 2021 breach of the U.S. Capitol by supporters of President Donald J. Trump, taking aim at Democrat lawmakers for promoting and gaslighting a narrative surrounding the protest to silence their political opponent. The Democrat masterful reversed reality after January 6th, branding peaceful patriotic protests as insurrectionist and framing the event as a violent coup attempt orchestrated by Trump, despite no evidence of armed rebellion or intent to overthrow the government, the website said, because if you remember, not a single one of those people at that rally, or the ones that were arrested, had a gun on them. None of them. If patriots wanted to take over shit, it had been done, my friends. Because we have weapons. Nobody brought weapons there for that. In truth, it was the Democrats who staged the real insurrection, the website continues, pointing to the certification of the 2020 election that the White House described as fraud-ridden and for allegedly weaponizing federal agents to hunt down those that were involved. All while then Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's own security lapse invited the chaos that later exploited to seize and coordinate power. The website continues. The gaslighting narrative allowed them to prosecute innocent Americans, silent opposition, and distract from their own role in undermining democracy. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the protest that has haunted U.S. politics throughout the Biden administration and through the 2024 campaign cycle as Democrats slammed Trump for allegedly promoting a riot. The new website works to shed accurate light on the events of the protest following years of Democrats describing it as the darkest moment in U.S. history. The new site boasts the historic date with black and white images of Democrats and others who investigated the breach and timeline of Trump supporters gathering in Washington, D.C. ahead of and after the breach, and how the House Administration Subcommittee interim report reviewing the breach uncovered critical security failures on January 6, 2021 that were largely due to politicized decisions by Democrat leadership and the Pentagon. January 6 Select Committee was charged with the initial investigation into the breach and ultimately referred Trump for prosecution in 2022, as we all know. The committee became a lightning rod of criticism of Trump and Republicans who accused the congressional body of deleting and destroying evidence relating to the investigation, which is detailed in the House Administration Subcommittee interim report that was published in December of 2024. The website timeline for January 6, 2021 kicks off with Trump's call to action for Americans to travel to Washington, D.C. for a peaceful and historic demonstration. The timeline walks users through the events of that day, including experts focused on President Trump delivers a powerful speech. Patriots march to the Capitol. Capitol Police respond, escalating tensions. President Trump urges calm, and leaked Nancy Pelosi video exposes security lapse. Supporters of Trump's gathered outside the U.S. Capitol January 6, 2021, when Congress was set to certify the Electoral College vote that determined President Joe Biden was elected to the nation's highest office. Democrat Representative Nancy Pelosi was a key figure in the protest's substantial investigation as she served as Speaker of the House at the time. Footage from inside the Capitol during the protest showed that she admitted to taking responsibility for the breach. Leaked footage captured by Nancy Pelosi's daughter shows the Speaker during the chaos admitting, "I take responsibility for the security failures. It was my fault." The website posts that video. The video exposes Pelosi's catastrophe failure to prepare, including rejecting President Trump's advance offer to send 10,000 troops to maintain security. And Nancy Pelosi said, "No, we're not going to send in troops. This isn't going to turn into be an armed Armageddon." Pelosi's daughter's own footage shows she knew security was so limited under her watch, exposing the deliberate refusal to accept offered reinforcements that could have prevented or delayed required reinforcements. Pelosi's office has slammed the promotion of the video as cherry-picked statements and don't contradict that Pelosi was not responsible for handling security at the Capitol, as tensions decisions ahead of the protests fell under the Capitol Police and the Capitol Police Board preview. When asked about the new site and remarks focused on Pelosi, the House Speaker's interim spokesperson, An Cragen, slammed the use of cherry-picked out-of-context clips of to allegedly downplay the deadly insurrection, which included the fatal shooting of Trump supporter and the only person killed that day, Ashley Babbitt, by a Capitol police officer. And to this very day, Democrats in Washington, D.C., and Congress, in the House and Senate, tell the people, continue to tell the people, that police officers were killed that day by the insurrectionists. Numerous independent fact checkers have confirmed again and again that Speaker Pelosi did not plan her own assassination on January 6th, Traeger said. Cherry-picked out of context clips do not change the fact that the Speaker of the House is not in charge of the security of the Capitol complex on January 6th or any other day of the week. The ongoing attempts to whitewash the deadly insurrection are shameful, unpatriotic, and pathetic. Pelosi published a statement Tuesday on the anniversary of the breach today, calling it an attempted coup via violent insurrection incited by the President of the United States. We must speak plainly. January 6th was an attempted coup. It was an effort to nullify millions of lawful votes and subvert the will of the people, Pelosi wrote in a statement published Tuesday. But the attack failed because of the courage of public servants who gave proof through the night that our flag was still there by refusing to bend to pressure, threats, or intimidation. On that day, the Constitution held and we kept the republic. Nancy, you forget that Donald Trump came out and said, please go home, everybody. This isn't what we're supposed to do. We are on the side of law enforcement. Don't commit violence. What the fuck are you doing? Go home. Don't commit violence. Trump said that. But they won't point to those videos, will they? But you can see them. They're all over the fucking internet. January 6, 2021, thrust Trump into the legal and political storm that followed him out of office, fueling his second impeachment in years of courtroom battles. Democrats cited his words, his actions surrounding the Capitol riot as grounds for incitement of insurrection, while prosecutors later built separate cases probing election interference and efforts to overturn the 2020 results. Democrats stated that January 6th was one of the most darkest days in U.S. history, repeatedly pointing to it throughout the Biden administration and 2024 campaign cycle as Biden-Harris ticket, followed by the Harris-Walz ticket, worked to preserve the party's control of the executive branch. Biden called the January 6th a dark moment and an assault on the Citadel of Liberty back in 2021, while former Vice President Kamala Harris said during the 2024 presidential debate that it was the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. What a fucking idiot. Trump has hit back at Democrat rhetoric, defending that he told supporters to march peacefully and patriotic outside the Capitol, while describing it as a day of love and casting many defendants as unfairly targeted. The president granted clemency to all individuals convicted or awaiting trial over the breach, roughly 1,600 people, upon his return to the Oval Office in January of 2025. The new White House website argues in one section that President Trump corrected a historic wrong, freeing Americans who were unjustifiably punished and restoring fairness under the law. With the Trumped return to the White House, President Trump wasted no time righting one of the darkest wrongs in modern American history, the site continues. On Inauguration Day 2025, he issued sweeping pardons and commutes for the vast majority of the J6 defendants, patriotic citizens that have been viciously overcharged, denied due process, and held as political hostages by a vengeful regime. The major legal cases targeting Trump that were tied to claims he worked to overturn the 2020 election were later dropped after Trump returned to office, while a Georgia election interference prosecution case against Trump and others was also dismissed. The BBC is currently wrapped up in a $10 billion defamation lawsuit leveled by Trump in a Florida federal courthouse over a documentary the outlet published ahead of the 2024 election that included an edited clip of Trump's 2021 speech on January 6th. The outlet has since apologized for the error regarding editing the speech, but has rejected demands for financial compensation. The edited video is also included in the White House's largest website and latest one to date. And you go to whitehouse.gov and get a link to it, and you can see all those videos, and you can see all the things that Pelosi said, and you can see all the truth about what the FBI did and their involvement and all this crap that the Democrats spewed about J6. None of it was factual. It was all a bunch of lies to silence their opponent. And that is dictatorship 101. They just didn't get the chance to be empowered to do it. And it was obvious that the American people saw right through what the Democrats were doing to Donald Trump because, let's see, he won in a fucking landslide. Not just did he win back the presidency, but the House, the Senate, and every single swing state. And look at all the swing states now that are just losing their Democrat votes. More people today are leaving the Democrat Party and switching to either independent or Republican than ever in the history of the Democrat Party. And more people today are becoming registered Republicans than ever in the history of the Republican Party. And what's the latest state to show that? North Carolina, my friends, has finally got more registered Republicans than registered Democrats. Used to be that way years ago, and then it slowly switched. Now it's back. I can't wait for midterms to get here. It's going to be so sweet because it's going to put a nail in the coffin of the Democrat Party that I used to belong to that no longer exists. It has been hijacked by far-left liberal ideology and destroyed. And the will of the people will see to it, come midterms, that the Democrats don't have a snowball chance in hell of being back in power again. And that is going to be a great thing. I'll be back on Thursday. I hope you will join me for another exciting show. Whether you're watching us tonight on the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, the X channel, please like, subscribe, share with your family and friends. Also check out DouglasDucote.com if you haven't already done so. If you are on Facebook or if you are on Instagram, not only follow me there or follow the Douglas Ducote Show there, but also my publisher now has put out a Facebook page. It's SSG, which stands for Staff Sergeant Douglas M. Ducote Sr. to promote my book. They put out an Instagram page to do it as well. Plus, we have the Baton Rouge to Baghdad and back Facebook group where I upload pictures from the different chapters of the book of people that were involved and things that were involved that, just giving you a little insight into the book and things that you wouldn't see otherwise. So check all that out. Also check out DouglasDucote.com, our website. If anything breaks between now and Thursday of major importance to American patriots, I will be more than happy to either come on and do a live show or a video about it. Otherwise, my friends, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America, and may God bless each and every one of you. And I will see you back here on Thursday, and I hope that you will join me. Good night, everyone.